Okay, well, once again, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. My name is Stephanie Buczkowski. I'm one of the directors in the admissions office. I'm happy to welcome you. I know I think we have a mix of different students and families here today, but the majority, I believe, are rising seniors, getting ready to start your senior year, which is great. So welcome, and thank you for your interest in us as well. I will put my information in the chat box. If anyone has any real specific like admissions questions or anything like that, you are welcome to email me or call or text me, whatever you need. I'll be happy to help. But right now, as you know, the focus is more financial aid for this event today and kind of giving you an overview of just kind of what to expect as time gets closer and the timeline. So I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful colleagues that are here today. I have Katie Kosis, who is the Director of Financial Aid, and Bridget Gorman, who is Assistant Director of International Recruitment. We do have some international students possibly on today, so she's gonna have another avenue kind of for that. So I would like to just turn it over to you lovely ladies, and you can go right ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. All right, I am going to start sharing my screen. Oh, can you allow me to share the screen?
Oh, of course. Do I have to make you a co-host or something maybe?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So tonight we're going to go over kind of a brief overview, and some things will be a little bit more in depth of the financial aid process and kind of things to think about as you go through for the next year or so. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat, or you can ask, at the end or as they come along, whatever works for you. Feel free to go ahead. My name is Katie Kosis. I'm the Director of Financial Aid here at Niagara. I'm also a proud alum. If you need to contact me, my email is up on the screen, just kkosis@niagara.edu. Or you can call us at the number as well. That's actually our general number for the front office, but any one of my team members are able to assist. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn it over to Bridget for a second to talk about the international financial aid, and then maybe go into a separate room as well. So Bridget, all yours.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. My name is Bridget. I'm the Assistant Director of International Enrollment here. So my role is to connect with international students, assist them with their application process, read their applications, guide them through the decision process, and pretty much just be kind of their point person, all things Niagara University. There's not too much that applies to international students later on today, so I'm going to provide a link in the chat box if you want to hop in a separate room with me if you're an international student, non-US, non-Canada, so I can explain some things a little bit better for you. But real quick, international students qualify for our merit-based scholarships. So those range from $10,000 to $23,000 each year. That's decided by your achievements in secondary school. And then we also have our Eagle Experience Scholarship available for our international students. That's just one of our 3-step processes. It's a non-renewable scholarship for your first semester of $1,500. If you visit campus or attend an event, so if you're here today, then yay, you've checked one thing off. Next thing will be to connect with me, schedule a Zoom meeting with me, and then the final step would be to submit your application form by October 31st. And then any additional financial aid is handled on a case-by-case basis. That is through me, through Katie, and then our Director of Enrollment as well. So if you want to learn more, you can hop in the room that I'm going to pop in the chat, and I can go a little bit more in depth. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Thanks, Bridget. All right. Oh, maybe I'm going. Oh no, hang on. Oh, now I'm just moving way too fast. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to go over first is the things that you really need to know in order to receive any additional funding through Niagara, or really any school that you might be looking for. Bridget mentioned the merit scholarships when she went over the last slide. So merit scholarships, as she said, this is for any students, U.S. or non-U.S. students who are applying to Niagara. Those would be determined through what you've done in high school, and those would be determined by the admissions office. And then anything else above and beyond a merit scholarship, we really need your FAFSA form. So the FAFSA form is the free application for federal student assistance. It's the driving factor in letting schools know what you're eligible for, and so that we can put together financial aid packages for you. So if you're a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen, like a permanent resident, you're able to complete the FAFSA. For our students and families who are current or will be a senior in, a couple of weeks, you'll be actually completing the 2022-23 FAFSA, and that opens up October 1st. And we'll get to that in a little bit more detail in a couple more slides. But your first step is to apply for your FSA ID, and this is really your electronic signature for the FAFSA and really any other federal forms you're going to be filling out in the future. You can go to studentaid.gov. The exact link is on the screen to be able to create these. You'll need one for the student and one for at least one parent. Both parents don't need to have their own, only one does, but you're more than welcome to have both parents apply. Please make sure that you're using separate email addresses for any of the FSA IDs that you are creating. So it's really important that you do use separate, so one for the student and one each for each of the parents if you have both created. And this is just so that the different accounts don't get linked up together, because that was not so much an issue these days, but was in the very beginning when they started doing the FSA IDs. So the next thing you're going to go ahead is, after you create your FSA IDs, which you can actually do at the time of completing your FAFSA too, it's up to you when you want to do that. You're going to want to be prepared with having the FAFSA on the web information ready to go. So as I said, for the seniors who are, will be seniors in a couple of weeks, you'll be completing the 2022-23 FAFSA form. It's not available yet. It will be October 1st. What you see up here, the FAFSA on the web worksheet, I know it says 21-22, and that's because they don't have the 22-23 one out yet. Probably will come out next month sometime, but not just yet. The basic information is the same. The only difference is the years that they're talking about, which I'll highlight as we're going through. Worksheet on the website, if you attend any one of our sessions, if in person or whatever, we can email us out once we have the updated version. But you don't actually fill the worksheet out. It's really just so that you know what you need to fill out online when you go to complete the actual FAFSA form. The first thing it's going to ask for is student information. So this is the student that will be attending college. It will be, their basic information, social security number, date of birth, their citizenship status, their marriage status. Of course, if you're coming from high school, most likely you're single. So just the basic student information. And also ask some information about the highest graduation status of the parents. One thing to note, the selective service registration, that actually has gone away. They are no longer making this a requirement for students to be eligible for any financial aid. So this is not something that you'll have to worry about. I think, as far as I know, they are taking the wording, the question off of the FAFSA for 22-23. They're kind of doing it in stages, but if they don't, if it's still on there when you go to do it, you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to, hold anything up if you're not registered. It's then going to ask questions about the student's dependency status. So in order to be, eligible for certain types of aid, you do have to be a dependent student. If you're an independent student, you're also still eligible for other types of aid, but it just depends on what status you're going with. So most, 99% of the undergraduate students just coming out of high school are going to be considered dependent students. And that means they do have to provide parental information on the FAFSA form. There are some cases where they might not be. If you were born before, it'll be 1999 for the next year. If the student's married, if they're a veteran, if maybe they were in foster care, if they're in legal guardianships, there are a few things that would make a student be considered independent, but for the most part, it will be considered a dependent, meaning that the student then has to provide parental information. The question I get asked a lot is, okay, to provide parental information, but which parent do I report? Because maybe my parents are divorced or separated. So if your parents are married or are unmarried but living together, you're going to report both parents' information and their income on the FAFSA. If your parents are divorced, you're going to report whichever parent you live with more than 50% of the year with during the prior 12 months. So I know in some cases I do get asked, well, it's 50-50. Well, there's 365 days in a year, so it really can't be 50-50. But if you have paperwork or something saying that everything can kind of get split down the middle, you would then go to use whatever parent provides the most financial support. So that's how you determine which parents to report on the FAFSA. Something else to keep in mind is that if your parents are divorced, but then, let's say you're living with, dad, and dad is remarried, you also have to include the step parents information on the FAFSA as well. Information after you complete the student section and go on to the parent section. Again, we just went over which parents you report. You'll need to know their basic information, date of birth, social security numbers. Typically, you'll be, filling this out with your parents all at once so that you have all the information ready to go. It'll ask if your parents, need completed taxes in 2020. That's something else to keep in mind. This, when you complete the FAFSA for 22-23, it will be based off 2020 taxes. So hopefully everyone has their taxes done by now. If not, you can use estimates, but most likely by the time you go to complete your FAFSA, your taxes for 2020 will be done, and you'll use that information. It'll ask, go into a little bit more, how much do parent 1 earn, parent 2 earn, in either 2020 or 2021, did they receive free or reduced lunch? Were they on SSI? Did, SNAP benefits, any one of those things. And then some other questions about, stuff that would be on their tax information as well. I know it might seem like a lot of information that they're asking for, but when you're in the FAFSA, it does have a lot of skip logic involved, and you can always, detail in, and it'll give you the exact, thing that you need to look for. So it'll say like line 13 from your taxes. So it gives you lots of hints as you go along. One thing is that after you complete the student section and the parent section, it will then potentially also ask about any assets. And this is really just depending upon the information you provided previously based upon the income and whatnot. It goes through a process that an algorithm that it comes up with whether or not you need to provide additional information. And one of those things might be assets. And if they are asking for assets, it's going to be for both student and parent, cash, savings, and checking accounts, what's in those as of the day you're filling out the FAFSA, net worth of other investments, stocks, bonds, those types of things, net worth of business or investment firms if you own a business. Something to note is that if you have like a 401k or something like that, you're not reporting the amount that's in the 401k that is not reported on the FAFSA. There is a section you would provide what you provided to that or contributed to that 401k and that in the 2020 year, and that would be on your W-2 forms, but the overall amount of your 401k is not reported on the FAFSA. So after you put in the parent income information, it'll then jump back to the student information and ask, again, if the student filed any taxes for the 2020. Most times it'll be probably no. At this point, they maybe were only a sophomore in, or maybe just starting to be a junior in high school, so they might not have had a job. But if they did, you answer all those questions and then report the information as well. It will also ask the same questions it asked for the parent section. Did the student receive any free or reduced lunch, SSI, SNAP benefits? Same thing as the parents. And again, same thing. Any child support paid, child support received. Again, most times students coming out of high school don't say yes to any of these, but they're. So that is the basic information you will need to complete the FAFSA form for the 22.
Not to interrupt, I really apologize, but just be careful because you keep cutting out. Some with the microphone.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, maybe just stay real close, but yeah, I just want to let you know just to be safe.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yep.
So now that, again, that is the basic information you need in order to complete the FAFSA form for the 22-23 year. In order to do that, so that was the worksheet we went over. Again, you don't actually complete anything on paper. You will actually complete it through the federal website. The website you go to is studentaid.gov. This is kind of what you will see when you go into, complete the FAFSA form, the aid application process, and you would just, click on complete FAFSA form. And then you will say, I'm either new to the process or I've, filled one out before. And that would determine, you click. Go to the login screen, you'll click either I'm the student filling it out or I'm actually a parent filling it out. The only difference here is that it really just determines how the questions are presented to you when you're answering them or, when they're going through the FAFSA, but really it's going to present you the same. First, as I said, is when it opens up of this year. So just, a couple months away it will be open for you to go ahead and complete. You don't have to do it on the first day. There's actually typically a large volume that's completed on the first day, so maybe wait a couple days. I personally recommend getting it in by Thanksgiving so that we can put that together with your acceptance from the school and start putting together a financial aid package for you. When you are in the FAFSA, it will give you an option when you're in the tax section to actually transfer your data from the IRS and have it directly go into your FAFSA form. So if you, as the student or as the parent, filed taxes in 2020 and you meet the criteria to have those transferred, I highly recommend doing it. It really does first off, it provides accurate information to the schools. And second, it really does lower the chances of a student being selected for the verification process from the government. When they're selected for verification, it just means that you have to provide additional documentation to the schools to prove that everything on the FAFSA is correct. So highly recommend you use the data retrieval tool when completing your FAFSA. Again, that will also be available starting October 1st. After you complete the FAFSA, students will receive, typically it's an email these days, a copy of the student aid report. It'll be for 22-23, not 21-22 as you see on the screen. But it'll give you a summary of everything that the student or yourselves reported on the FAFSA. It will let you know, just kind of give you that summary, double check it, make sure everything was correct. You can always go back in and update it. Got to give it about 3 to 5 days to process, but then you can go back in and update it. Some things to note on the STAR report is that it does give you a couple numbers to keep in mind. It's a 4-digit code that actually allows, let's say you list 3 schools on your FAFSA when you're completing it, but then you actually think of another school later on. You can actually give that school the DRN number, and they'll be able to add their school code onto the FAFSA so they can see that information. And the other important thing to look at on here is the expected family contribution, or the EFC, and that right here, it says 0 right here. Might not be 0, it could be whatever number it comes up with, but that is what schools use to put together financial aid packages, and that's how we determine how much need a student has, which we'll get to in a few slides. But if you're wondering what your EFC is, it will be on your student aid report. On the FAFSA, you list up to 10 schools when you're completing it. If you are applying to more than 10 schools, what I recommend is putting the 10 down, waiting about a week for everything to process, go back in, take some schools off and put some new schools on, but just make sure you're keeping track of exactly which schools you're taking off and which schools you're putting on. And if you decide to go to one of the schools you took off, they're not going to be getting any updates and for any changes you might make. So make sure you pay attention to what you're taking on, taking off and putting back on. Again, each school will receive the FAFSA electronically within 3 to 5 business days. And then they'll start working on creating financial aid packages for you. So there might be a range of when you start to receive financial aid packages. Some schools might send something out in November, December, all the way through March potentially. It just depends on the school, and of course when you applied and accepted. There's a lot of factors that go into that. Here at Niagara, we will start sending out financial aid packages that first week or so in January, right after we get back from the Christmas break. I just quickly want to go over some of the things you will see as you go along in the financial aid process, kind of explain what they mean. You're going to hear the cost of attendance a lot, or the COA. We use a lot of acronyms in financial aid. But the cost of attendance is comprised of 2 main components. You have your direct cost and your indirect cost. So those direct costs are things that the student is charged directly: tuition, fees, books, potentially room and board if you're going to live on campus. And then indirect costs are those things that are part of your budget, but you're not going to be charged directly. If you're commuting, a room and board allowance, transportation costs, personal costs, those types of things. So those combined create the cost of attendance, and it can vary widely from college to college, just because each college has different costs. I have your expected family contribution, which we talked about before. It is the amount that a family can reasonably be expected to contribute based upon the federal formula. It does stay the same regardless of whatever college you go to. So you could be going to a state school up to an Ivy school, and it's going to cost, the EFC is going to remain the same. The 2 components, the parent and the student contribution, again, based upon all the information you put on, based upon income, assets, number in college, number in household. And then again, it's calculated using that federal formula based upon all the information that was put in. Then we get to financial need. Okay, what is financial need? We have to talk about need-based aid. Well, what does that mean? So we take your cost of attendance, which again can vary from school to school. Subtract away your expected family contribution, and the remaining number is your financial need. And that means we can package you with need-based aid up to that amount. By federal regulations, we're not allowed to go above that amount with certain aid, and we're also not allowed to award you more than your cost of attendance. So just keep those things in mind as you are going along in the process. The financial aid that you might see in your award letters as you go along, definitely scholarships and grants. Those are free money, stuff you don't have to pay back. So things that you always want to make sure you kind of get those things first. They could be from the school, it could be from the federal government, it can be from the states. There's a lot of variety of different scholarships and grants that are out there. Then you have loans. So these would be, most times it's from the federal government based upon your FAFSA form. These are in the student's name that you'd have to pay back after you graduate. You can also get private loans. There's also parent loans, which would be either sometimes through the federal government, sometimes they're through private sources. And then employment. So this is either maybe like a work study job on campus where you're working, 10 to 12 hours a week on campus, earning some money that you could either use as spending money or maybe put towards your account, or maybe another job on campus. It's not necessarily through your financial aid award letter, but you can find some other type of employment on campus as well. And then the sources come from the federal government's the largest one. Again, that's based upon completing the FAFSA form. The next one would be states. So if you attend a New York State school and you're a New York State resident, you might be eligible for some state money, typically through the tuition assistance program or TAP program. Private sources, whether that is like a community foundation that has scholarships, civic organizations, churches, employers. Wegmans has scholarships, I know. So there's a lot of different sources you can go to. I highly recommend checking with your high school guidance counselors. When you get back in a couple of weeks, check with them. I know there's specific ones to just the high schools you attend. So start looking early and start applying. Typically scholarships will open up, outside private ones will open up in early spring and, like January, and probably be due typically April or May. I think the federal government's largest source. They do aid awards primarily on the basis of financial need. Again, that need component we were talking about. And you do have to apply for this every year through the FAFSA form. So it is an annual process. Every October 1st, it'll be opened up for the new year. You can go ahead and start applying for your next year in school. Some common federal programs you'll see, the Pell Grant, that's probably the most well-known one. Again, that is based upon your FAFSA form. You do have to have an EFC of currently, I believe it's around like 5,800 and below in order to be eligible. Teach Grant, if you're thinking of going into the education field. Opportunity grants, work study, like I mentioned before, your loans, your subsidized, unsubsidized loans, and plus loans. These are the parent loans I talked about. States. Again, typically you have to, be living or, from a certain state and attending school in that state in order to be eligible. For New York State specifically, there are awards based upon both merit and need based upon the information you provide. And it can use the information directly from the FAFSA form as long as you make that link. If not, you kind of have to go back and apply separately, but it's all within, relatively the same process. Private sources. Other things I wanted to mention before we start taking questions, special conditions and appeals. We know things change, especially with COVID. There's been a lot of changes, whether it's, income reduction, income loss, separations, unfortunately some deaths. So if something has changed that's not reflected in your current status, so, you fill out the FAFSA, it can be based upon the 2020 income year. If your income is now different than it was in 2020, contact the schools that you're applying to and ask to see what your options are. Typically, like I said, if there's been a reduction or a change in circumstance, we will try to open up a professional judgment review. You'll have to provide documentation to the schools, and we will see if we're able to, change your EFC at all, and then potentially be eligible for more aid. Now, in some cases, there might not be any, differences. Income's pretty much the same, family makeup is the same. There's no real big changes there, but you just know you're gonna need some additional funding. You can still reach out to the schools and appeal that way as well. You can just, contact the financial aid office. Typically, we'll have you write a letter or an email that you can send to us, just explaining the situation, why you're looking for additional funds, and that'll be taken to a committee where we review it and let you know if you've been granted any additional funds. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Again, either if something has changed in the income or family situation, or even if something has it, you're just looking for additional funding. Finally, when you do get your financial aid award letters, and again, you're going to see that range between, maybe November all the way through, March, potentially, depending upon the school. You now need to take those individually and break them down and compare them apples to apples. So you need to look through each file that you're given, see what their actual costs are, if you're going to live on campus, if you're not going to live on campus, and all the different funds that you've been awarded, grants, scholarships, loans, work study, whatever it might be. Go through those one by one, and then you can, at the very end, see what it actually costs to go to that school. You might have one package that's giving you, let's say, like, $40,000, but it costs, like $70,000 to go to that school. Whereas then another school maybe only gave you $20,000, but they only cost $30,000. So you really have to break it down to really see the difference between all the different offers that are being awarded to you. And don't hesitate to, reach out to us in the financial aid office to, if you have any questions, if you want to go over this. You can come into our office. We offer virtual appointments, phone appointments. So as you go through the process, I know a lot of these things won't come up until you go a little bit more down the road. It's a little early now because the FAFSA is not even opened yet. But as you get to that point, feel free to reach out to us. I think I put the contact information. Yeah. FAO@Niagara.edu. Our phone number is on there. And again, my email as well. So if you have any questions as you go down, the road, feel free to reach out. But does anybody have any questions for me now that maybe, to follow up on, or if you had something I didn't address?
Katie, would you mind mentioning the level tuition plan?
Sure. Yeah. So we have the level tuition plan here at Niagara. And what it does is it locks the tuition rate in for 8 consecutive semesters, or your 4 years of being at NU. It is for freshman students only. So you have to be a freshman student coming in for the first time to be able to lock that tuition rate in. But the really nice thing about that is that it helps you budget. It helps you be able to plan for your 4 years here, and you're guaranteed that your tuition price would never go up. If for some reason tuition does, typically we have about 2 to 3% increases every year in tuition. If for some reason it doesn't happen to go up in a particular year, we would make an adjustment for you so that you're ensured that you're not paying more than anybody else. I will say though that in the 26 years we've been doing this program, we've only done that once where we've had to reduce or adjust a contract plan, but it really is a good thing to look into and think about as you're moving ahead in the process. Because again, it really does allow you to plan out those 3-4 years in the future, knowing that your tuition will stay the same.
Great, thank you.
Okay, one question. Do you offer assistance for graduate students? So yes, we do offer assistance. So you still have to complete the FAFSA form if you're a U.S. or an eligible non-U.S. citizen. And you would most likely from there, you would just receive the unsubsidized loans for graduate studies. But our graduate department here at NU does have graduate assistantships and graduate scholarships that you can apply for as well. So if you go to the graduate website, I think it's like niagara.edu/grad aid, I believe, it will show you all the different options that you can apply for. Sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to try and pull up that link really quick, but I wasn't fast enough.
Oh.
I wasn't fast enough. No, I was going to say that there wasn't a question in the chat box on my end here, but then you had one. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys?
I actually learned a lot today. So that's all. I really did. Yeah. A couple of things I did not know about the 50%, like who do you report?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great to know. I never knew that. And I get that question a lot sometimes in families.
Yeah. Yeah, I get asked that question every time I do a high school presentation.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe it. I did throw a link into the chat box if you guys had a chance to look at it. I'm sure you'll get emails and that about it too, but it was regarding our Eagle Experience Scholarship.
Mhm.
And it's a great opportunity for very simple way to receive an automatic $1,500 scholarship added to your freshman financial aid package. Basically, it's a matter of just doing 3 simple things, which you're doing one today, is attending a virtual or in-person event. So this counts as something for sure. There'll be that event. Also, connecting with your counselor. So you, I'm sure maybe by now probably already have maybe heard from your admissions counselor, maybe reaching out to introduce themselves or whatever the case may be. So connecting with them at some level, you can find them on your website, depending on the high school that you're at, all that kind of stuff. And then also submitting your application by Halloween. So you don't have to be completed. The applications have to be completed. It just has to be submitted by October 31st. So if you do those 3 simple steps, you are eligible for that scholarship automatically. It'll be added to your financial aid package. So very simple. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Easy way to make that. So
Yeah, thank you.
thanks.
Let's see. Oh, someone, you've been waiting for, oh, probably Dina to call you. Yeah, let's see. Do Dina's contact information. This is DJM, right?
Yeah, oh, I can put it in. Yes, they're waiting to hear from Dina.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Anything else, guys? And any questions?
You did a great job. No questions, and everything was
Well, I
clean
don't
and
know.
clear.
It'd be good or bad. I don't know.
Oh, good.
Well, if you do think of anything, I know a lot of these questions won't probably come up until you're actually kind of.
Oh, here we go. Wait, how much is tuition? That's a good one.
Sure. So currently, we don't have the prices yet for 22-23, but current tuition, tuition itself is $34,400. We have student services fee that's charged to all students of $1,580 for the year. Books are $400 for the year, but that covers all their books and supplies that the students would need. They are rented books, but again, it's charged directly to their account. And then I'm missing something. There's a one-time registration fee of $205. That's for, again, just in the fall, one time, that's it. And then if you decide to live on campus, room and board, which includes the meal plan, is $12,400. And keep in mind, that is before any financial aid is applied. So your merit scholarship that you receive will be deducted from that. Your Eagle experience, if you get that, is deducted. And then any other grants or scholarships or loans or whatever you might have is deducted from that then as well.
Did we go into the merit amounts? I don't know if we.
I think Bridget covered them really quickly, but they do range currently from $10,000 for the university grant all the way up to $23,000 for the trustee scholarship. And then we have a net price calculator on our website that you can kind of go ahead and put in your information and see, where you would fall with that. Are those automatic based upon grades? So Stephanie might be better to answer that one, but it is based upon what you've done in high school. If you're a freshman student coming in, so it's either your high school average or your SAT or ACT scores if you took those, if you decide to submit.
Yes, great. So yeah, we are a test optional school, so you do not have to submit scores to apply or to receive merit scholarship money. So we are able to figure out your merit amount either way, whether you have scores or not. If you do have them, please, submit them. And if you're uncertain about where you might fall in the scholarship, like kind of the scale, and possibly maybe wondering like, well, if it's better if I do or if I don't submit my scores, whatever the case may be, just call us. We'll walk you through it where we think might be better off for you. But we do that automatically. It is based on grades, like I said, and or SAT, depending if you submit it. And we also let you know your merit scholarship amount right along with an acceptance letter. So you know everything in that matter of like 2 to 3 weeks. We're a rolling admission. So we move pretty quickly. We're constantly processing the applications as we get them. And even before this Eagle Experience Scholarship, I always encourage students to apply by Halloween. I think it's a great time to have everything in by if you can. That way, once financial aid and things like that start moving, you're way kind of ahead of the game and know where you stand with everything else. So, and the scholarship, like I said, letting you know right away along with the accept packet, which is great. And then I thought there was one other thing I was gonna say about it, but it's guaranteed out 4 years. So it's always renewable, it's always there. And it's so when you do apply, we will look at your cumulative average from the end of your junior year. Okay, so we may not ask for, we may potentially ask for senior grades. It's unlikely. Sometimes we will if it's the nursing program because it's pretty competitive. And we may want to see like how you're doing on in your sciences and stuff like that. But generally we look at your cumulative average from the end of your junior year. So that's what we go by, just so that you know that. I do see some pop-ups here.
Yeah, I put the link to the calculator, so that's in there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So what happens is that you're notified of the merit scholarship that you qualify for in your admissions packet. The admissions office sends that information to my office and financial aid as well, and we put that as part of your financial aid package. So you're most likely to get notified of it twice, once in your acceptance packet and then as well as in your financial aid package as well. You're welcome.
Good questions. I like it. Yeah, which, I mean, get the application, moving along. Where there's 2 ways you can apply to us. We are a member of the Common App, and we have our own personnel application as well. Both are free. So it's whatever you choose. I do recommend if you're applying to more like 5 schools, probably the Common App's the way to go for sure. It's just the easiest for everyone.
Stephanie, there's a question, just so that they are clear, senior grades are not considered.
I'm sorry, we broke up there. I'm sorry.
Oh, someone's asking, just to be clear, senior grades are not considered.
Well, they could be considered based on program. But in general, like we might look at your course load and like maybe the classes you've decided to take, but unless it's more, like the nursing program, because a lot of times we will get your transcript and you apply before you even have your first set of first semester grades anyway. However, I will say this, if someone is on the bubble in terms of acceptance, because what we like to see roughly is about an 85 overall cumulative average from junior year. And excuse me, I'm sorry, about 1020 on the SAT. So they would be considered possibly if somebody is maybe not at where we're looking for admission. If you possibly fall below that we may wait for first semester senior grades to make a decision. Is definitely more common with the nursing program because of, like I said, because of the competitiveness. But more so we'll look at your course load, what you decided to take. So, but yeah, general, I mean, 99.9% of the time we go by cumulative of junior year.
I will say too, we do ask for your final transcripts at the end of your senior year as well. So don't think you're totally off the hook.
Rachel says we are visiting campus on September 18th. Campus, will you be there?
You broke up again, but I think I have the same.
Yeah, you can probably see it. I think it says to everybody.
Okay, right? It is to everyone. Okay, we're visiting campus September 18th. What's your favorite part of the campus, and what should we suspect that day? September 18th. Are you asking if Katie or all of us will be there? I don't know. September 18th, I should be there for sure. And honestly, when you come to do a visit, is that a Saturday?
Saturday, yeah. Yep.
Okay. I believe Julie will be there that day. My
colleague.
Open house. Oh, it's open house.
Open house. It's open house. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you're going to see everything, so you don't have to worry. Yeah. Yes,
we'll all be there.
Yes, we will all be there. So, okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And if I'm personally not there, someone from my office will be there. Don't know yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, open house is great. We just had one this past weekend too, and it was very successful. It was very good. So yeah.
I would say my favorite part of the campus during the fall is like the the landscaping and the change. They're not so much like they're changing colors yet, but it's just like that fall setting. So when you come, who knows? We might be still like 90 degrees. I don't know, but
right. Oh, is there a benefit to come and meet with you folks even prior to? Oh, I say absolutely. I think if you can come to campus, we don't require interviews or anything. I think Bridget can agree. We'd love to have you visit, come sit down and talk with us. Absolutely. So yeah, please do. I think it's great. And you maybe, if you want to do an overview with financial aid, if they're available, just kind of talk about some things. We highly recommend it for sure.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, you're more than welcome to meet with us. But unfortunately, there's not much we'll be able to tell you prior to you being accepted and prior to us having a FAFSA on file. So if it's maybe after October 1st, and if you've done your FAFSA, we can then But right now, we wouldn't be able to tell you anything definite as far as what your package will look like, because we don't even have tuition set yet or anything. But if you want to go over general things, we certainly can. But as far as what your package will look like, that'll be more so like November-ish, after you've been accepted and after we have a FAFSA on file.
So we've already visited. Do you recommend visit? I do. Yes, highly recommend it. If you came for like an individual, like the presentation, kind of more individualized in the personal campus tour, it's great. But it could very well have been, if it was like over the summer, it was probably pretty quiet. So I would recommend when school, like we're in session, the hustle bustle of the students and kind of getting that whole vibe, I definitely recommend coming for an open house. Yes. Bridget, you probably agree, right? Want anything to add to that?
They're definitely a lot of fun, and I think there's a lot of benefit in revisiting, because if you only have one visit to base your entire decision off of, is it really that accurate, or things like that too? So I made my decision to attend my top 2 schools 3 times each, and it really helped me be confident in my decision to attend Niagara University. So revisiting is great.
Yeah, and very easy to register. You'll probably get an invite to your email automatically, especially now that you've attended something like this. But it's literally just niagara.edu/visit is what it is. I can put it in there for you, and then you can register for whatever event. They're all listed right there for you.
I put it in for the open house.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Good questions. I said, so the admission piece, I mean, we work super closely with Katie, the financial aid office, all the time. But anything, major specific, please, or, major specific or admissions, please reach out to Bridget or I. We're happy to help in any way that we can. And definitely, if you, come back, if you want to revisit, we'd love to see you or join one of these again. We'll have a lot. So. Is open house limited to the number of family members? No, not at this point. I mean, we do have some capacity, not the number of family members, but we do have a capacity in some of the buildings still. So we don't necessarily ask you ahead of time to limit who's coming with you, but we do have a cap on how many people can register. So. Okay. That might be it. So great job, Katie, Bridget. How did everything went well on your end? Bridget, good? Good. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Again, our contact information is out there. So if you have any questions going forward, please feel free to reach out.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I ask you guys, I mean, this is kind of a little bit of a personal question because I'm the one asking about the grad school and online classes and stuff. I've tried to call and I know summertime, it's very hard. People are in and out. Do you know, I mean, I'm a teacher, or I've been a teacher, then I've been a parent, and I'm going back and I want to go back to school to get a special ed license, and I want to do it online. And I see you guys offer that program. Again, so just to reiterate, you said that even at my age, I'm probably eligible for some sort of assistance. Do you offer that with the online classes?
Yeah. So regardless if it's online or, in person, as long as you're 6 credit hours, you would be eligible for the unsubsidized loan. Now that does take into consideration that you haven't used all your previous loan eligibility at other schools. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't been to school since 1990s. You know what I mean? Or, I've been taking classes on and off, but I've had no assistance whatsoever. I've been just doing things here and there, keeping up my teaching licenses and stuff. And then with that, I know you had talked tuition with somebody, you came up with 34 roughly.
Yeah, that's for undergraduate. So for graduate, it's per credit hour, and it does depend on the program you're in. If you go to like the student, so Niagara, website and search student accounts, and it will actually show you go through the different programs and it'll tell you what the per credit hour amount is for your program is. Okay. And is it the same whether you attend school or you do it online? Do you know if it's the same or? So the college of education does have a online program that does have a different cost. but
Right.
you could potentially be in another program that just offers online classes that would be the normal cost, whatever it is. So it just really depends on what program you're in
Okay.
for that.
Okay, I
Yeah,
know
the-
this is a complete shot in the dark too with this one. Is there any chance that I could, I saw there was like a September 3rd deadline. Is that when classes start? Is there any chance of getting into any classes this semester, starting September, or are we looking for next semester?
I'm not
You
sure for
could-
graduate, honestly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for
Okay.
graduate, I mean, you could definitely see, because sometimes with the graduate classes, they don't always start exactly. Maybe they're Saturday classes or something like that. So you can definitely try. I will
Okay.
say it might be a little hard to get in for the fall, but you can certainly try. And if not, for sure for the spring.
Okay, because sorry.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
good. And I'm just trying to say, if it helps, the College of Ed grad programs are usually about 36 credit hours each in order to graduate. And then your contact for that most likely is going to be Tammy Bruno. She's really great. And I'll see if I can get her email for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm
'Cause
entering grad school this fall too, so
Oh,
I've been working
Yeah, I was
on
almost
that.
gonna say, because if you had to shed any light on that for sure. Yes, that's
Yeah.
great. Yep.
So
Oh,
let me find her email.
Thank you. Yeah, no, good luck to you with this. I said, and I have a son who's going off to school next year too. So it's kind of like, we want to be able to swing it, but we just don't know if we can.
Sure.
So, just looking at everything, I don't want to say he's more important than I am at this stage of the game, but he's younger and, his college experience needs to be better than mine. You know what I'm saying? So, although this school looks very nice, the campus looks beautiful from what I've seen on pictures and stuff. I've never been, clearly, because I do not live
Oh.
around there. And that's why I was so happy to
Beautiful.
see something offered online for,
yeah.
Oh,
in today's
good.
day and age and with, the COVID and all of that stuff. All right. Is there any other advice you could give me? Because I don't want to keep you. I appreciate this.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah, I think, reach out to Tammy. As Bridget said, it's probably your best contact for the College of Ed for the graduate programs and see what your options are. And then complete your FAFSA. And now, mind you, if you're thinking of coming for either this fall or next spring, you're going to be completing the 21-22 FAFSA. What I was
Okay.
talking about was for the students who are going to be starting in fall 22. So if you're
Okay.
starting this year, you're going to be doing the 21-22 FAFSA.
Okay. So then I can start doing all of that and just checking in. So I'll check in with Tammy Bruno to see what's what, and hopefully something will work out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
You're welcome.
course.
I
Our
appreciate
pleasure,
all
really.
your time.
You're
Enjoy.
welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's it, Stephanie.
Yeah, I think so. Great. Thanks, everyone. You guys are wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you,
Yeah.
Katie. I know it's a busy time of year for you.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.